So I got just a movement to work on today. So let's take a look at what's inside the box. So our nowadays prices for a box this size is $14.90. Here I have two movements. This says it's a Lux movement and said it ticks just fine, but the hour hand doesn't move, so take a look at that. This one here I'll have to take a look at. Says this one you'll work on. So let's take a look at this one first, I guess. So this is the one he's having a problem with. We're going to have to figure this one out because it seems to be ticking just fine. I just started it up right out of the bag. I did ask for the hands so I could put the hands on it to be able to watch it tick and make sure it does decent time. It is fully wound. Just the same, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this one apart and clean it all the way. Here he's got glue on there. There it stopped. The pin that holds the spring, it came out and he couldn't get it in there to keep it in there. And also he said that the spring was crooked. So like I say, we're going to take a look at that. We do have end play, which is good. We do have the spring is wound up, so some of your end play won't show up. That one does move. Anyway, let me take a look this a minute. I don't know if it's keeping time, I haven't paid attention, but here's the hour hand, here's the minute hand, and I had them both up, so it was 12 o'clock. And so what I'm going to probably do is pay attention to the time and see if this is keeping time or not. The only thing I did just in case is I did oil this, and I did adjust, we'll call it this nut here, which actually pushes in on this here so it can be either tighter or looser. And you can do it by your fingers, so that's what kind of surprises me. There's a chance once I have that set and once I have this re-cleaned, I guess we'll say, I'm going to put a little fingernail polish on there to keep it from turning once I have it set, like I said. But so far it's ticking good. But like I say, we are going to look into this. But I want to test this out before I work on it. So the clock's been ticking just fine. We have 30 seconds left for it to be at a quarter after. And there's a chance also that this spring wasn't pulled tight enough, because I've noticed if you, I don't know which way is faster or slower, but if you move it over this way, it seemed to normally stop, but right now see, right now we're at a quarter after. But what I'm going to do is try this out with it over here to see if this is supposed to make it go faster or not, because that's how you can adjust your spring to know whether you have this length right or not. Length right or not. So moving this little arm over slowed the clock down. We have a few seconds left, and this is pretty close. So I would say it did slow it down. normally you're going to want to speed your clock up in time, because when your clock starts needing oiled or whatever, there's a good chance it's going to start slowing down. And it is recommended in the cuckoo clock book anyway that you should take these out and re-oil them every 5 to 7 years. This clock here isn't really an open clock because it has a round metal case on the back side that, let's just say, looks kind of like a tall tuna fish can. And so it's pretty well sealed. And so I'd say every 7 to 10 years I'd re-oil it, and that's just to keep the oil moist, not starting to harden up on you and whatnot. And on a clock, it's best to run them, because if it's just sitting there not ticking, there's a good chance that oil could be just sitting there drying up and not doing anything. And so it's good to re-oil these every once in a while. So this is a hairspring here, and he glued it in, and so I'm having a heck of a time getting this glue off to get this to come through, and also so we can level the springs. It was sitting off to the side, and this needs to be, once that glue's off of there, needs to be put in the middle, and then get this peg here in. And he had a heck of a time getting this peg in, is why he glued this. So, like I say, slowly but surely we'll get this thing cleaned up and apart and back together again. This here that adjusts the speed of the clock, it's very loose. And this right here is a spring washer, and it does have a split in it so that we can get this off. So you can get this off, I'm gonna guess. But anyway, this spring washer isn't working right now because it's kind of smashed down in there. And I'm gonna see if I can get that to resemble a spring washer again. And not certain, but I would almost say this here looks like it's a pin that you would pull out. You just gave this a little bit of a twist, and that came right out. And that should be the washer that's been flattened out. Now, before I get carried away taking anything else out, I need to get this wrapped with a zip tie. And I probably should have started that first, but you want to get the zip tie on there, because if I was to release it right now, it's just going to get bigger and start hitting the other gears on the inside, and that's not what I want to do at the moment. That does look like a, I don't know if that's a brand new spring or not, but it looks pretty good to me. I don't have the key to this, but I have this key. This is just to let it down onto the zip tie, and still it's going to be a little bit dangerous because it's hard to control something this small compared to an actual letdown tool. And I can hear Mark now. Well, make a thing that'll fit over here. I hear you, Mark, but I'm not going to do it. And I'm going to pay for it. I do have one of these keys that almost fits. I can't find my one that would fit better. And actually, see, we're a little bit loose. Actually, this might be better because it'd be easier to control this on how fast I let it down. And it's kind of difficult too, because clear inside there is a clicker, and don't know how easy it is going to get that off when I wind this up a little bit. Do a little at a time, and also it's going to hit here, even though it'll spin past that if it takes off on me. Okay, I got all the weight off the clock. You can see that open there. Still trying to let loose some of it. I got the clicker back. It's stuck back, which it might be on a wire. I can't tell for sure in there. But like I say, I got the weight off, and that was my main thing there. Not that I noticed, but I see this one nut's already coming off, so it wasn't tightened down. That one's tight. It's a little difficult coming off. Now I'd like to get this thing apart so it doesn't blow up all over the place, so we can get a picture of the gears. I already took pictures all the way around this thing, so it's not a heart attack, but I always like to show how it's setting in here. And the spring is the one it's released, but technically speaking not, because it is on this post, and so it does have a gap before it actually hits into the rest of the gears. So I'm going to carefully try to get this off of here. I'm going to try holding on to the spring so I didn't want to take off on us. Yeah, there's some pressure in there still. And some of these gears are stuck in there. So before these things get all tore up, let's set them aside and then put them back in after we get the spring out of here. They only have a little bit. It's better safe than sorry. So we got it out, and reinstalling these, I have to check each one of the bushings, but they were feeling kind of rough, like they were getting stuck. And so I'm going to have to check each one of those out also when I go to put this thing back together. But first I want to try to get all this cleaned up. So let's go ahead and pull this apart. The spring would go in here, which we already took the spring out. So that one's stuck in there. See how it's just stuck. And it might be a They say to run your nail across it to see if there's like a burr or whatever. And I think maybe right in the end it's almost like it's been smacked, because it feels like it might be sticking out just a little bit. But no matter what, we're going to have to figure that out, and if need be, clean those holes a little bit better. But first, I'm going to clean this whole thing and get it back together again. So I just got it put together, oiled, and now basically I'm going to be letting the oil work in before I try doing any other adjustments. I've got the spring in line pretty much. That peg that he was talking about here, I have it wedged in, but I need to do it tighter, but I'm not going to do it until I get my adjustments where I want them, so that way I can speed the clock up or slower it. So that's going to depend on how short or how much more of the spring I'm going to be pulling up to shorten the spring to make it tick. When you're putting one of these together, pay attention to this part here, because it needs to be put onto the peg of this wheel in order to be right. And it's good to take the pictures, because this gear here I actually put in backwards and things just weren't fitting right, I guess we'll say. And I'd looked at my pictures again and realized, of course, that gear there was in backwards. Now it's, you can see how it's wanting to stop. Like I say, the oil is working in. Now when it came to some of these gears not having end play in here, what I found, not necessarily the dirt on the end of the shaft, but inside each one of these holes here, I could feel like there was a burr in there. Even after running the toothpick through there, I could kind of feel it. So I took my little diamond cutter and, let's see here, besides made in Germany, doesn't say exactly what they are, but those are diamond cutters, reamers, to, I guess we'll call it, so you can clean your hole. Or some people actually use those to ream a hole out to put a new bushing in, and which is totally fine. You don't need the real expensive tools to do that. The more expensive tools just normally will make it easier for you. So like I say, I'm going to let this thing run a while before I do any more adjustments. So like I said, the way to get this in the beat, you gotta watch the peg on here. And of course you're putting it in the center of this, but with no power on the spring, you would get this so it just kind of rests right in the middle. That part there. How would you do that for sure? It's using the length of your spring wire to move this so it doesn't have too much pressure clear up here or clear down there. You try to get it even. So this clock ran fantastic for a little over a day, and normally I would think you would see the springs open more, and so I was worried, does this clock have a problem not unwinding more? And so I went on the site to check out these clocks. I do believe this is a 30-hour Lux clock movement. They did make them in the 8-day also, but they were a jeweled clock, and it says that they're the type that you cannot overwind. This is the clock I'm working on, and it does say it's a 30-hour non, or the movement, an 8-day fine quality jeweled Lux movement. Well, this movement doesn't say anything about being jeweled, so I do believe this is a 30-hour clock. And when you type in the Lux clock movements, this is a great site that they have, that they've shown all these clocks, explain this size and everything else about them. So like I say, it's a good channel to go to. And if I remember, I'll leave the link in the description of the video down below the video. So anyway, I was thinking I was doing something wrong because I couldn't get the clock to run for 2 full days, and until I actually looked it up, they do make the 8-day or the 8-day and the 30-hour clock. The 8-day would be the jeweled clock. Anyway, we got this one done, so thoroughly thrilled, and I'm sure the customer will be happy about this one also. Don't forget to subscribe because it's free, and leave me a comment just to say hi. I'd appreciate it, because I guess that helps in the YouTube world. Anyway, until next time, God bless.